School Board Resource Officer contract for 2021 to 22. You got some last minute changes, one of which was inserting and getting an agreement that to the extent drugs are confiscated at a school, the officer there will do the test. That insulates our staff from anybody claiming that they did something with the testing and they're experienced at it. It does open one door, and I have to tell you, we haven't seen it, but I just want you to be aware. And each department said to me they agreed that the risk is not really there, but should they, for example, confiscate heroin or phenobarbital, they're more likely going to arrest because that's a far more serious offense and try and find out where that's coming from. We have not had those issues, but I just want everybody to know because we're going to do everything we can to save these students. They would not agree to a 3-year term. I tried. I want to thank first Curtis McGehee at the City of Kissimmee, who literally the next morning he got it, he had the deputy chief and him on the phone. And I want to thank Deb Barrett at the Sheriff's Office because she acted quickly when she knew we had to get this done. So I think we put in a lot of things that you wanted, Julius, in there.
Yes, sir.
And my recommendation is to move forward with it. If you want to make a tweak to it, I got to go back to everybody, but we need this thing. I'd rather we approved it and then say, can you go back and see if you can get this changed so that we have an agreement to get these people in place.
Yeah. The only thing I'll do on the testing of the drugs,
Yeah.
and you don't have to put that in there,
Right.
it's like one of those things that's internally, that staff can attest to the fact or witness it, and they're allowed to witness that they conducted the test.
That will be part of, when we go over this, so that principals understand the new nuances, they'll be told, the officer guys have somebody standing there watching it so that they can validate the officer did the test.
And again, I want to thank the superintendent and both the school board attorney, that a lot of the recommendations did in fact make their way in here. So the whole task force wasn't in vain. I mean, we didn't get the body cameras, but we're getting on a resolution. But I will see that, I saw here that, we want them to go inside the classroom and teach classes. I saw that they want them to liaison with the state attorneys and, require civil citations. I saw the drug testing. So I saw a lot of the things that we recommended were now in fact in there. So I want to thank you, Dr. Pace, for doing that, because it could have been a little bit more resistance, but it wasn't. And so, and I understand the parts that were eliminated were included in the resolution, because I understand contract language, we have to have a contract to go. And the resolution at least lets them know that, hey, this is what we expect and this is what we want. So I do appreciate you again, Dr. Pace, for being able to separate that and getting the new language in there. So I really want to thank you for everything and for even attending the meetings. That's the other thing I forgot about that. I forgot to appreciate you for that. You talk about after hours, you came to every task force meeting except for one, and, Mr. Phelps was there and in your absence. So that means that you still cared about the entire thing. And so on behalf of the SRO task force members, I think Jamise Lewis was here earlier, Stephen Montero, the chairman, Tatiana Chafin. I don't want to name every single one of them, but I wish they were here. I just, the fact is, they were all volunteers. No one got paid, and they really did their due diligence, and it's showing up here in this document. And so I want to thank all the SRO task force members that volunteered and helped put this together and make sure that we're getting something solid. But I am disappointed, though, that it wasn't a 3-year deal, that it wasn't a commitment. And I had mentioned it before, I think Channel 2 was speaking earlier, that, we had a task force meeting where the possibility of elementary schools were coming next. And so I wanted to try to get a 3-year agreement to try to shield us from that possibility. But unfortunately, they said no, and that's when I accepted Dr. Pace's agreement to go ahead and at least train the 2 district personnel for the guardians, because one goes hand in hand. And I'm just giving a long explanation for transparency purposes, because I know the Orlando Sentinel's here and things like that. And to me, the process is just as important as the outcome, and that's why we came to the conclusions that we did. And so it's about as good as we're going to get, because we don't control the law enforcement agency. At the end of the day, we can't compel the sheriff, we can't compel the city of Kissimmee, we can't compel the St. Cloud, And at least we appreciate for at least the next school year, our parents can know that the SROs are there on campus. And hopefully they can be there for longer, but we'll see what next year brings.